It is 8:30 a.m., March 4th, 2025. This is Delta County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I have one addition to the agenda, everybody. Yesterday, I was visiting with Lisa Poole. She is resource staff with Senator Hickenlooper's office out of Durango. She'll be joining us at 9 a.m. on Zoom. Do we have any other additions or edits? None. The agenda will stand as amended. Constituent time. Is anybody here would like to address the commissioners this morning? And if you're just joining us, please sign in. If you'd like to address the commissioners, please have a seat, introduce yourself. Sir, would you like to address the commissioners this morning?
Yes, I would.
Please have a seat, join us. And do make sure that mic's on. There's one button underneath there. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Tim Austin. I live in Paonia, Colorado, and I'd like to address the commissioners over some issues that we've been approached now by regulators who are coming at us with the land use codes, and we have been threatened by CDOT and they have indicated that the county told them that we're in non-compliance, and we've been threatened with having our driveway shut off and all kinds of issues. The land use codes, if the commissioners, if your goal was to divide our county, you did a great job. If your job was to cause rancorous attitude about your county, you guys are overachievers. If you're trying to ruin the tourism industry up in our end of the valley, you're getting it done. My request of you is I'd love to see you be public servants rather than put your boot on our neck and try to shut us down. We've created a business we've created a beautiful property that's a beautiful business. We have neighbors that have done the same thing, and we're being threatened by the county. I would love to see our county serve us rather than threaten us. I'd love to see our county help us rather than screw us over. We've been paying our taxes. We complied in every way we knew how, and our county's coming after us.
What is the name of your business?
Fort Austin.
What's the nature of your business?
We have an Airbnb / agribusiness. We have a farm, we have an orchard, we have chickens, we have our guests come and they'll be able to pick fruit. They'll be able to have an experience where city people can come and get dirt under their fingernails and understand what country life is about. And we've been the possibilities of what we are being threatened with. We're sick of it. If you wanted to threaten residents where we want to move, I'm so ready to just put it on the market and get out of here. That's how bad this is. I've got a suggestion for you that I would love for you to consider. Rather than put your boot on our neck, would you please consider hiring somebody who would come at us with maybe, I don't know, forms that say, here, we know you're not in compliance, or you're likely not in compliance. You get 6 months to get through your season, maybe. What about coming at us with, we will send staff to help you fill out forms. We'll waive fees. We did this, the county changed. We didn't change. We didn't do anything different. We've been doing this since 2014. We didn't do anything different. You did something different. You passed a code that's impossible to understand. In the 2021 code, you you had a definition of a special event of 500 people or more. In the 2024 code, you remove the definition of what a special event is. We have, what if my guests, a couple comes and rents one of my cabins and rents a priest and rents a photographer and rents a mother-in-law and has a wedding? Well, that's a special event. Possibly, we don't know. You didn't define it. We have no way of knowing what a special event is. We have no way of knowing what you intend. We have no way of knowing if you're gonna put your boot on our neck and send the sheriff up there and shut down a 5-person meeting. We just have no idea what you're wanting and what you're trying to do.
What requirements CDOT putting on you?
We don't know yet. I've returned the call. I'm trying to set up the meetings. I've got to set up a meeting with your planning department and figure out what is required and what's needed. We know you've shut down another business that's roughly similar to ours. We don't know. That's part of the issue. We don't know what we don't know is part of the issue. But that's why I'm asking, would you come at us with, we're gonna help you, we're gonna figure it out, we're not trying to shut you down, we're not trying to screw you over, we're not trying to jerk you around, we've got a code now that almost everybody I know opposed very publicly in meetings. We've got a code, we get it, we've got to comply. We've done everything we know how to do to comply. But this is just, it's not a way I ever want to be treated by my county. I love this county. I've invested much of my life in this county, and much of my resources, much of my time, much of my effort. And it feels like you don't want me here. And if that's true, that's cool. I'll sell out and go somewhere else if that's what, but I've created one of the most beautiful properties in this county. I will tell you that. And that was my goal. And that's what I did with complying as well as I could. I'm sure there's things I didn't know, or that I'm sure I didn't comply perfectly, but I made a pretty good effort to do that. So,
Well, Mr. Austin, with your contact information's on that sheet, including a phone number, we'll look into it a little bit here. Certainly CDOT does CDOT, that's the state agency. It would be government overreach to even try to pretend to manage them.
I get that, but their comment was Delta County turned me in. Delta County reported me. Delta County sent them after me.
We have to, as commissioners, we have to be very careful of ex parte contact in the event something comes in front of the board.
I get
But
that.
if your information's on there, I will check with planning and get back to you.
Okay, I will make sure my phone, I'll put it on here in a second with my glasses on, so make sure it's on there.
Is
Thank
Fort
you.
Austin on the grounds of the family farms there, Tim? Or is
No,
it-
sir. My folks' place is on Pitkin Mesa, and mine is, do you know where Garvin Mesa Road hits the highway?
Okay.
That's where my place
That's
is.
where
Yeah. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Any others? Any online?
I don't see any hands, but maybe online, let's raise your hand.
Nobody? Thank you. We'll close constituent time, move on to county clerk. Mrs. Stevenson.
Good morning, Commissioners. This morning I have the minutes for the February 4th regular Board of County Commissioners minutes for your approval or changes or deletions.
I have none.
I have none on February 4th.
All good.
Okay, I also have minutes for the February 18th Board of County Commissioners regular meeting, same thing. Any changes, additions, or deletion?
Just one thing I noticed on page 2, line 27, it said the motion carried by a vote of 3-1. Commissioner Coons opposing the motion.
Oh, I
That'd
got
be
you.
2-1.
That's a 2-1.
Get that changed. And my next item is, I do have the applicants here. Jeff, do you want to come on up to the front? This is Jeff Schwartz. He is the applicant for the Bitters Restaurant license for North Fork Cellars LLC doing business as Big B's Hard Cider located at 39-126 Highway 133. In your packet, there was a preliminary report that indicated that I had done a site review of the property. I also saw that while we were out on the property, that the acreage is 5.5 that they are looking at for the license to be available for alcohol beyond that 5.5, I should say. It is well marked it is going to be well marked with signage. There's also a large fence there that indicates where that alcohol can be on one side versus the other. They are not allowing alcohol on the campsites. They have redone the access into the facility, which is, I think, much better. And I think that was pretty much what we saw. Everything has been, notices have been posted, fees have been paid. I did check with the sheriff's office and they have had no issues with this establishment. Therefore, I would recommend the board's approval for the Vintners restaurant license. Jeff, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, we were in front of you, I think it was last year for approval. We got approval for the Vintners license plus the resort license that you all approved, or at least the last commissioners group did. But we decided that it was too much, but the Vintners license is just a step back. So it's easier for us to monitor.
Mr. Schwartz, educate us. What was it about the resort license that was too much?
The resort license was going to allow us to sell packaged beer to go as well. That was really the only other.
Right.
And we just decided it was too complicated and we would rather the liquor stores sell their beer, you know, and we just, this Vintners license is more appropriate for what we're doing for the tourists that are, and our visitors, you know, our customers.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions for Terry or Mr. Schwartz?
I have none.
What would be the will of the board?
Well, I'll move that we approve the Vintners Restaurant license for North Fork Cellars LLC doing business as Big B's Hard Cider located at 39-126 Highway 133, Paonia, Colorado.
I will second the motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so done. Good luck, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
My next item on my agenda is your consideration of appointing Debbie Griffith as the 2025 County Board of Equalization hearing officer. As you remember last year, we went out to an RFP in order to look for a hearing officer, and we only had two that came in. Debbie Griffith was our hearing officer last year in 2024. She did an excellent job. Her qualifications are great, and she did an excellent job last year. Therefore, I would like to recommend that she be reappointed. I have contacted her and she is willing to do it.
So that's good to know. She's okay with it.
She's okay with it. I try to make sure.
And just so everybody knows, Debbie Griffith retired as county assessor 3 years ago after almost 30 years in position. So she is well qualified for this. So do the will here, gentlemen.
I will make a motion that we appoint Debbie Griffith as the 2025 County Board of Equalization referee / hearing officer.
I second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so done.
Thank you. Still working with the County Board of Equalization. I have reached out and contacted Lisa Roberts to sit as arbitrator for 2025. Lisa has been doing this for us for a number of years. I believe in the last 10 years, we have only had to use an arbitrator one time, but they are very difficult to find. I've reached out to other counties to see if they fill their slots, and they are struggling like we are. So I'm always grateful that Lisa is willing to do that. And therefore, I would recommend the board to appoint Lisa Roberts to sit as arbitrator for 2025.
And she has agreed to do this also?
She has.
Well, I move that we approve Lisa Roberts to sit as an arbitrator for 2025.
I will second the motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so done.
Thank you. That's all I have today.
Thank you.
First item under commissioner business is the board's consideration, possible award for an RFP for an equipment shed. Dave, is that you this
Yeah,
morning?
that was me. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have the results for the bids for new equipment shed for District 2. Bidder number 1 is Consai out of Grand Junction at a bid of $198,500. Bidder number 2 is Distinctive Design Build out of Grand Junction, $156,686. Bidder number 3 is Kaiser Construction out of Grand Junction, $127,182. Bidder number 3, KR Construction Group out of Colorado Springs, $198,330.79. Bidder number 5, McCall Concrete Construction out of Montrose, Colorado, $167,975. Bidder number 6, North Peak Incorporated in Grand Junction, Colorado, $155,662. And bidder number 7 is TDK Construction Unlimited out of Delta, Colorado at $99,972.
Dave, I'm very encouraged to see we've got 7 builders.
I was too.
Bids on this project, but I'm perplexed at the $100,000 swing here.
It's-
Bids.
Yeah, they're all over the board and I don't understand. So I can't speak for them.
Certainly bidder 7 at that price of $99,972 is attractive for this project. But will this get us the quality and type of construction we're looking for?
It is the bid to the exact specs that we put out for bid.
Any other thoughts on the rest of the bids? And the next lowest was number 3.
No, I really don't. Like I said, I don't understand the variance in the bidding. The plans were put out there very clear on the RFP and that's what they bid off of and
Have we did business with TDK before?
yes.
Yes. We're satisfied with their performance?
Yes.
They actually put up a building at the fairgrounds, the shop.
So what's your recommendation here, gentlemen?
I would like to go with bidder number 7, TDK.
Makes sense to me. I will make a motion that we go with bidder number 7, TDK Construction out of Delta, Colorado for the amount of $99,972 for RFP 2025-04.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so done.
Gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next, for our consideration this morning is the reappointment of Charlotte Lubin and Hetty Todd to the Crawford Cemetery Board. I have seen an email regarding their interest in being reappointed. Be my recommendation to this board to go ahead and reappoint them both to a 3-year term.
Well, I move that we reappoint Charlotte Lubin and Hetty Todd to the Crawford Cemetery Board for a term of 3 years.
I will second the motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Terry, do you have their contact information?
I do not, but
I will let the cemetery board know that they were appointed then.
okay.
I have contact. Okay. Got about 10 minutes before Lisa comes on. Next in front of us, gentlemen, is a resolution that was brought forward by Mr. Dan Berg. He is president of the Delta County School Board. They have passed a resolution at the school board, very similar to this one, requesting that Governor Polis go back to a multi-year enrollment average instead of a 1 year. If you've seen any of the press lately, the state funding, we're $1.2 billion in the hole on this year's budget. One of the proposals is to cut education funding to could be a possible $3.5 million hit to our school district. And there'll be some very difficult decisions that the school district will have to make regarding school closures or mergers in all three districts in all areas of our county. School board is elected to do a 1 year review of this and appoint a task force to look at options. But they asked that we do a resolution sent to the governor and others, joint budget committee, to reinstate that multi-year review average.
What is the multi-year? Does it have a specific number or?
Well, they went from 5 years to 4 years. They're still playing with that formula. We don't know where the joint budget committee will end on this.
Well, it certainly makes sense to shift away from a 1 year, or to not go to a 1 year enrollment count for determining these kinds of things, because of those things that the resolution spells out, that numbers can change from year to year that school districts have no control over. So makes more sense to me to stick with a multi-year average. And
Would you like the motion?
I think I would.
Yeah.
Should I just go ahead and do it?
It's number 7.
I'll make a motion that we pass a resolution number 2025-7, recommending a multi-year enrollment average versus a single year enrollment count.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen. As Terry passes that around, we'll ask Ms. Gallegos to join us. This will be Commissioner Business number 4 regarding the Colorado Child Care Assistance Program, known as CCAP. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Annie, right at 10 o'clock or so, we got a staff person from Senator Hickenlooper's office joining us,
9 o'clock.
or 9 o'clock as we call it.
Wonderful.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I'm here today. We are looking at a crisis in the child care program across the state. We've known this crisis was impending, and so we've been trying to navigate with the state options. Currently, they are projecting for this year alone a 17 to 24 million shortfall. And so we know that even with our allocation, we will be under our allocation this year currently, but with the federal changes that have come into effect, that doesn't mean that that will last for the next 2 years as well as these rules go into implementation. So at this time, I'm here today to ask for the board to consider a letter regarding reaching out to the Joint Budget Committee to advocate for fully funding this program to affect our families, which affects the workforce. It helps drive down our numbers in child welfare and allows families to receive services when they are in crisis, and allows children to thrive in our county and across the state.
What happens to CCAP if funding goes awry? What happens to our families in this county?
So it would change the workforce in our county, would not allow parents, mothers especially, to join into the workforce. It could jeopardize financial stability for the family. It could undermine some of our local businesses. We also use childcare for those that are seeking further education. And so that would have an impact for them seeking educational long-term stability for their family. And so those things would allow for children and sometimes to become, to present themselves in unsafe situations as well, which would also drive families into the child welfare system.
Any other questions for Director Gallegos?
First, thank you to you and your staff for this, for the letter and bringing this for the board. It's a worthy cause. We know that the state could fund this if they wanted to by cutting in some other areas to help this. And you're dealing with people who are at the kind of at the end of the rope. They don't know what else to do, don't know where else to go. And except for your department, and you have a lot of, I'm sure, drama over there about what can be done and what can't be done. I'll move that we sign the letter of support to the Colorado Joint Budget Committee regarding prioritizing Colorado Child Care Assistance Program funding.
I will second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
you just happen to have that letter.
I
Thank
thought-
you.
I thought I had to sign electronically or
Yeah.
something.
Annie, keep up.
Emily. I think we'll send the original and then we can have a scan. Is that right?
We'd like to welcome Mr. Cohe, Place Wise, and your guest. Grab a chair and join us.
Good, how are
Good
you?
morning. And I was just telling Annie, Lisa Poole from Senator Hickenlooper's office is going to join us about 9 o'clock. But we need to visit with you guys too.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, we'll be quick.
She hasn't done.
Okay.
Excellent.
Well, good morning to you guys.
Good morning and thank you for having us. Excited to be here. Wanted to give a quick update to the commissioners on Delta and where we are, and then introduce our new Chief Operating Officer, Nicholas Colleran. So hospital where we're at today, we continue to do pretty much what every other hospital in rural America is doing. Is it continues to be a struggle, but we're still winning that struggle. There's a lot of changes right now going on, as you guys well know. Each and every day, there's a different change and challenge, but we're trying to do the best that we can do to advocate for Delta Health, whether that's here in the state of Colorado or federally, and just trying to make sure fiscally we're doing the right thing. We've made some nice changes. I've been the CEO there since July, and we now have rounded out our team. And that's why I wanted you to meet Nicholas here so he can speak a little bit. And Nicholas is our Chief Operating Officer, and he's really picking up where I left off, and that Chief Operating Officer role has a lot of experience. So he's able to take that baton and run with it, which is exactly what we need as we continue to do the operations, keep the service lines where they need to be, but then also do the job that we need to make sure people know who Delta Health is, where we are, and so we can continue to get the support that we need at the state level, but then also at the federal level. We always appreciate y'all's support. Always feel the love from the county here, and that is evident. Always a lot of support, and that a lot of my counterparts don't have that. So do appreciate that. So thank you very much for your support.
That's actually surprising, John.
Yeah.
That others don't support their healthcare system.
Just the systems themselves struggle. They struggle, and there's not the relationships. Oftentimes it's hard with people that have agendas that maybe their own. Y'all are in lockstep. of keeping these services here and doing whatever you can do. It's a struggle at the county level to be able to provide all the services you need to provide. But you all do a great job when and where you can to even support our parking lot, the gravel in our parking lot. It's a great example of that. Most likely a project that we couldn't do, at least not right now, without that support. So we do thank you for that. That I'll give Nicholas the microphone if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. Nick Colleran, I moved here about 3 months ago. I've absolutely loved Delta and the hospital. It's just been an amazing community. I moved here with my wife and 2 children. Just so happy to be here, and the healthcare that's provided at Delta is pretty amazing. The one thing that, to John's point, we have to work on is like all the hospitals are struggling financially. So how do we become more efficient, cut our costs where we can that doesn't impact care? How do we give more access to the community? Make sure people are getting in with their appointments, surgeries are being done. How can we expand the services we're offering, whether it's wound care or OB? So just I've been very blown away by the care that is given and how great everybody in the Delta community's been. So I'm excited to be here and really want to work with you guys. And to John's point, the gravel lot got put down. So we're finishing touches on that. So I want to thank you guys for that. And anything you need, please let us know.
Thank you. Any questions for?
Welcome. Good to have you. Where are you coming from?
I'm come from North Carolina, but most of my life is in Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've loved it. I came and interviewed and fell in love with this place and really want to be here for a long period of time.
Great.
So now I'm listening for the accent.
Did you hear it yet?
A little bit.
You told me as a Patriots fan after he closed the deal.
That's a shame.
Rewind.
Well, welcome. Glad that you and your family are here and settled in the community. And we welcome your expertise in helping our hospital. And thank you very much for taking the position, because going from North Carolina to Delta, Colorado, probably somewhat of a cultural shock, but hopefully the adjustment will be adequate and you'll have a great, you and your family will have a great time here.
Other than the weather, it's been perfect.
No,
And I'll tell you, I think the weather here is substantially better than I think people speak about. I think you hear Colorado, you think of a ton of snow outside. In this area, it's been great.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's an important part. I think it's the people that make a place. And one of the reasons that attracted me is you walk through that hospital and people smile at you and they're friendly. And more than that, they're dedicated. I've never been to a hospital that's such dedicated employees that, just like me, their goal is to keep this hospital here for the next 100 years. And you see that, and there's passion, and I love that. And you don't see that everywhere. So I hope you guys know that you guys are lucky to live in a place that has that.
Well, we thank you guys. Leadership is important, and you guys set the standard, and we appreciate that. It is our pleasure to work with you guys to ensure these kind of services exist for all of Delta County. So,
Thank you.
We'll work on that.
So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time, Commissioner Coons, Commissioner Lane, Commissioner Fuller. Thank you very much.
Thank
we'd
you.
like to recognize Darnell Place Flags back there. Good to see you again, so, ma'am.
I do have a task that I'd like to ask with you all.
More gravel?
There's a lot of gravel, but we do have our upcoming color run. And last year you were also generous as to be the master grillers for the barbecue. So I'm hoping you would say yes again. I'll give you time to think about it. It is on May 15th, but
How do
got
you
aprons for you.
say no?
You do. Anyway.
Chris has been training.
Yeah, do we
Okay,
have,
well, I'm just putting it out there. We'd love for you to come and participate again, and
we don't have to run in the race, though.
you don't have to. You just do your master grill.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Raise her hand up in the hospital.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we'd like to welcome Lisa Poole from Senator Hickenlooper's office online.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know me in the room, again, my name is Lisa Poole, and I am the Southwest Regional Director for Senator Hickenlooper. I'm based in Durango and I cover 11 counties in Southwest Colorado doing policy outreach on behalf of Senator Hickenlooper. So Delta County is kind of the northern end of my region. Um, and definitely hope to drive over the mountain passes when it's just a little bit less wintry. But yeah, here to just have provide a federal update and discuss any important matters. How does that sound?
Sounds good, Lisa. I do have a couple of questions for you.
Great. Do you want to start there?
Sure. You know that energy permitting reform was circulated in the last congressional session, but they ran out of time to complete. That's something that's had bipartisan support, support from me, Kathy Fackler from Citizens Climate Lobby, and many others. Will the senator be able to bring that forward again?
We're hoping to. Like you said, it was a wonderful bipartisan bill that was coming together at the end of last year. So this is the Energy Permitting Reform Act of 2024. There are lots of pieces in there, but the pieces that Senator Hickenlooper worked for were, pieces from his Big Wires Act, which concern with the different FERC regions in the country and, the energy load that's passed back and forth between the regions, just creating more better reliability of our energy system. And then there's permitting reform. So the Senator Hickenlooper's Speed and Reliability Act is all about cutting down, the permitting process for transmission lines, because right now it can take upwards of like 15 years to get permitting done for transmission lines. Meanwhile, we have all these energy projects that really want to come online. So it would have cut some red tape that would have significantly reduced that timeline down to like 6 or 7 years, which still sounds long, but that's actually like fast for one of these big projects. So yeah, like I said, lots of different pieces of the Energy Permitting Reform Act. Lots of senators from both sides of the aisle had some priorities in there, but we weren't able to get it through the finish line. We're hoping that it can come back to life, though. Right now in Congress, there's just a lot of other priorities, and we are. So I think first and foremost is figuring out the, how to fund the government. That's like the next thing. And then after that will be the big budget reconciliation discussion, which has already started. But I think everything's kind of got to go a little bit on pause while they figure out, fiscal year 2025, which we're already in the middle of. So yeah, that's energy permitting reform. Let's see, a few other updates. Let's see. So Senator Hickenlooper and Senator Bennett reintroduced a bill that's all about combating wildfires and drought across the West. It's called the Protect the West Act, which invests $60 billion in forests across the West to reduce wildfire risk and restore watersheds, protect communities, decrease the cost of fighting wildfires. I think everyone around Colorado really feels the risk of wildfire. And I think right now, especially, on the western slope out here, we've been feeling the dry winter. So when that happens, we all, start to think about what the wildfire season is going to be like. Currently the federal government spends approximately 2.9 billion to fight wildfires every year, with costs expected to increase by $1 billion by 2050. And so really, preventing wildfires before they even start is just 30 times more cost effective. So compare 2.9 billion in just the mitigation, and then but then already in the past 5 years, the US has spent nearly 48 billion fighting wildfires. So we want prevention is key. I don't need to explain that at all. So specifically, the Protect the West Act would establish an outdoor restoration and watershed fund to better support local efforts to restore forests and watersheds, reduce wildfire risk, clean up public lands, remove invasive species. That comes up a lot. Actually, that's usually a topic that I've had on the Western Slope in nearly every county. It also establishes an advisory council of local community, industry, conservation, tribal, national experts to really advise on what the funding priority should be and coordinate with the existing regional efforts. Because as you all likely know, I mean, there are so many local and regional efforts ongoing. And then this bill would empower local leaders by making 20 billion directly available to state and local governments, tribes, special districts, nonprofits to support restoration, drought resilience, and other, fire mitigation projects. So those are some of the things. It's said this bill would create or sustain over 2 million jobs, primarily in rural areas, to support those existing industries like forest product and ag and outdoor rec. And so, it's all about investing in wildfire prevention. So that's the Protect the West Act that was introduced a few weeks ago by Senator Hickenlooper. Another one that he introduced, a bipartisan bill to strengthen the critical minerals supply chains. So that one is called the Securing Trade. It's a long title. It's called the Strategic Minerals Act, but of course, Congress has an acronym for everything. So strategic is an acronym for securing trade and resources for advanced technology, economic growth, and international commerce. So the Strategic Minerals Act. So that one's all about strengthening the United States' critical minerals supply chain by expanding trade with international partners. So I think some of you follow, this already. So, in December, China announced that they would immediately block the export of, it was 3 different critical minerals, gallium, germanium, and antimony to the US. And these minerals are essential to the US defense industry, clean energy, and advanced technologies like microchips. So this bill would authorize the president to negotiate specialized trade agreements for critical minerals. It would set trade negotiation objectives that would aim to reduce or eliminate trade barriers with allies. It would prohibit critical minerals negotiations with countries designated as non-market economies unless they're approved by a joint resolution of Congress. It would require the president to consult with Congress before negotiations, just like detailing potential impacts and ensuring that legislative oversight. And then it would expand the US funding access to foreign critical minerals projects by amending the Defense Production Act. So
Lisa,
Yeah. So that's all in the Strategic Minerals Act. Sorry.
Lisa, is there anywhere in that strategic minerals that would encourage and permit mining of those rare earths and others within the US, where we know it's secure and done in the most environmentally responsible manner?
Okay, so not this bill specifically, but there are so critical minerals is like a really big priority of Senator Hickenlooper's. And last Congress, last year, he introduced a slew of critical, ones that further deal with our supply chain and domestic supply chain. And those ones I think most of those will be reintroduced here pretty soon in this Congress. So the one that deals with domestic, okay, so there's the Critical Materials Future Act. That's the one. And so I'm going to just quickly list off ones that were introduced last Congress that will likely be coming down the pike this year. So the Critical Materials Future Act, that's the one that seeks to establish a pilot program for the Department of Energy to financially support domestic critical mineral processing projects. So that's all about processing because we want to have more of the, the full supply chain here domestically. Let's see, the National Critical Minerals Council Act. That's one that that bill establishes a council to develop and implement a national critical mineral strategy. And it's like that one's about coordinating federal investments and research. Okay, so this one gets at what you're talking about, Wendell, the Unearth Innovation Act. That is the one that creates a mining and mineral innovation program within the Department of Energy that would drive the responsible production of domestic critical minerals with a big focus on minimizing the environmental impact of mining. And there are others. There are like 3 or 4 others. So, but I don't need to.
I don't want to monopolize the time here.
Yeah. And I do want to
know-
do a time check. How long do I have? Is it till 9:30?
I think we can do till 9:30.
Okay,
But
great.
I'd like to open it up to the other commissioners or others who might have questions or comments here.
Great.
As I understand it, Senator Hickenlooper is still in support of boys competing in girls' sports. Is that correct?
He's supportive of transgender rights and for Congress to not get involved with that. Any other follow-up questions there?
I have a bunch, Lisa.
Okay.
I would like to speak more in depth with you and the senator when he's available about these minerals and permitting things going on. I do think if we step back out of the way of some of the production initiatives and then set high standards for these groups instead of creating more councils or more committees, these things will come about quicker and with more efficiency than a more Department of Energy programs. And I know I disagree with the senator on that. You mentioned budgets. What are some of Senator Hickenlooper's primary budget supports and what things does he oppose?
We are, Senator Hickenlooper is certainly concerned with some of the conversations around the big cuts that, have been floating around there, like big cuts to Medicaid. That would be really concerning to rural hospitals on the Western Slope and really all around Colorado, who, serve a large percentage of their patients are on Medicaid, and if they were not to be reimbursed, then it would increase costs for these hospitals, and there'd be a lot more, ER visits. So I think we've been hearing from a lot of rural hospitals around Colorado about their concerns about Medicaid cuts because they're already have such slim margins. As I said, we would like to see more investment in, we would actually like to see more investment for our rural healthcare. We would like to see more investment for wildfire mitigation. The list goes on, and I can kind of send that to you about what his budget priorities, but those are a couple of top lines. We are concerned, our Senator Hickenlooper and our whole office has been fielding so many calls in the last month about, the federal funding freeze and the mass firings of federal workers. I think we're going to really start to see the economic impact of that in Colorado. Even when it comes to losing a couple people from, say, the BLM or US Forest Service, who are responsible for processing grazing permits, that's going to hurt the grazers who need to have a renewed permit in order to get out there and continue their job. So, if you are hearing of any more impacts, we'd like to make sure we keep an open line of communication there. But ultimately, we do want to see those workers, those federal workers' jobs reinstated. Another thing, I know that y'all have been following the Shoshone water rights purchase, which is through the Colorado River District Conservation District. That one is also caught up in this federal funding freeze, essentially not because they had already started to draw down funds, but they were awarded their grant, but they haven't had enough time to sign the actual grant agreement. So therefore the money is not technically obligated, and it's very easy to essentially rescind that award, which would be, pretty disappointing, to say the least, for that one.
Do you have any timing on that, Lisa, on the Bureau of Recs release of those funds or award of those funds?
No, there's so much up in the air. Typically it would take, and these are not normal times, but typically it would take a few months or maybe like 6 months to just go through the grant agreement and get everything signed. It's a process, but now that it's held up, we'll see. Everything is up in the air, and sometimes we do get glimmers of hope, like because the Trump administration issued an executive order that was specifically looking at funding that could be construed as the Green New Deal, like related to the Green New Deal. And then another piece of it was diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so therefore all the federal agencies were kind of combing through their all their current grants, their current awards that were out but not yet obligated, and also current grants that were already under contract, to see if there's anything in that line. But also there have been court cases that have been blocking any of those funding freezes happening because of the Impoundment Control Act. So there's just, but that hasn't been followed. There's just that hasn't really been followed, even when there have been judges coming out to say that's not legal to freeze these funds, especially if they're under contract. So that's all to say that we are living in unprecedented times. We've never really seen this before with an administration change, and So anytime that we can look back to like, oh, this is kind of how it's gone in the past, even with an administration change, it's just nothing, everything is different now. So everything, we are truly in uncharted waters. So I wish I could say that things will be hammered out soon, but I don't know. And it could also, if you know, House Republicans and House Republicans and Senate Republicans have put forth, pretty major goals for cuts, in for, they have goals for tax cuts, and then they also have goals to make up for those tax cuts, in massive budget cuts. And this could be one of them, is like if there's any unobligated funding, then they could theoretically, take back those to save on money. But we'll see. We'll see. But right now I'm like, well, Shoshone has nothing to do with the Green New Deal and nothing to do with DEI. So I hope it can prevail. There are
Yeah.
lots of good water projects around the state that really need to happen for our, ranchers, farmers, and beyond.
And Delta County has come out, in support of that very much. So, we just got a few minutes left, Lisa. I did have a question for you. The topic of delisting the gray wolf from the Endangered Species Act is certainly floating around the western slope and is getting a lot of attention. Where is the senator on that proposal if it does come up?
He has not taken a position, and he's still listening to constituents all around the state on that issue. So if you want to, send us a letter with Delta County's stance, that'd be great.
Okay.
And then things on my calendar coming up are, so I've got the Gunnison Roundtable meeting in mid-March on my calendar. Jolt in June. I believe a couple of my colleagues in the north will be going to that. And Club 20, since that's in Grand Junction, I've got a couple of colleagues right there who will be going to that. So, more time to interface with our office at those things.
Very good. We look forward to seeing them there. We hope you can join too.
Yeah, yeah.
Before we lose Lisa, commissioners, others, is there any questions? Annie, you got anything for? I got one. Chris Stewart, go ahead, Emergency Management.
Lisa, off camera, but this is Chris Stewart, Emergency Manager for the county. One of the grants that's been put on hold is the State Homeland Security Grant Program. And we've been told by the State Office of Emergency Management that even though FEMA grants aren't supposed to be canceled or on hold, they've frozen all reimbursement requests, and we have over $200,000 worth of projects in the pipeline with that grant between the county, town of Hotchkiss, the hospital. Can the senator see if he can get any update on where that grant is and if they're going to be releasing funds on that so local agencies can move forward with projects or not?
Yeah, we've been, thank you for telling me about that. That's exactly the kinds of things that I'd like to be tracking and communicating to Senator Hickenlooper to see what we can do. Unfortunately, that's not the only grant of this. There are grants, all around the state, FEMA grants that are being held up right now, not because they were rescinded, not because, and these are grants that are under a grant agreement already. So if it were to be actually frozen or rescinded, that would be illegal. But like I, was explained before, we're in uncharted waters right now with this new administration and their approach to federal funding. So we will do everything we can to draw attention to, your example and the many around the state that this is not right. Like, these are very important projects that need to continue along because, a grant, usually a grant agreement that's underway and funds are being spent down also means that there are other contracts, right, that you have with other folks doing the work. So who need to be reimbursed. So yeah, And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. I'd like to follow up with you on that.
Yeah, do it around number two, here I can, put your contact information from the commissioners and send you an email too.
Chris, I'll get you her email.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And we have Annie Gallegos, Director of our Human Services here. That's something for you.
Good morning. Thank you for being here today. I think I don't have necessarily a question, but just want to make sure that we're advocating for our most vulnerable populations. So when we look at those Medicaid cuts and that affects individuals and families, especially in rural Colorado, you described it before also about the impact to the hospital, but I think there's also an impact on services, access to mental health, behavioral health, and part of the federal funding cuts that we are concerned about is that rural Colorado and Delta County in the Southwest region, we depend on prevention programs to be the safety net to avoid families entering child welfare or juvenile justice programs. And so some of those are critical lifelines within communities such as ours. And so I just want to continue to advocate for that position for Delta County as well.
Thank you so much. And you, I didn't catch your name.
It's Annie Gallegos.
Okay, thank you, Annie.
Lisa, thank you for the opportunity to visit this morning. We hope to see you in person soon.
Yes.
We appreciate the updates and carrying the message back to the senator on so many of these important topics.
Great. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Very good. And thank you guys for sticking around for this.
Bye.
We'll do the Delta County Jail reports. This is for Sunday, February 23rd, 2025. Male inmates, County Jail 32, female inmates, County Jail 3. Male inmates, Department of Corrections 4, female inmates, Department of Corrections 2, for a total of 41. Average daily inmate population for the week of February 17 through 23 was 50.69. For Monday, March 3rd, 2025, male inmates 31, female inmates 5, male inmates Department of Corrections 4, female inmates Department of Corrections 2, a total of 42. Average daily inmate population for the week of February 24 through March 3 is 51.21. Is there any other business before the board? Seeing none, we're going to recess until 10 o'clock for planning. Following at 10:30 will be County Attorney John Barrett.
Back to the issue.
Make sure your mic's on.
You live, Craig? It is 10 o'clock, everybody. March 4th, 2025. We're going to come back on record with the Planning Department. Mr. Sean Gardner, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Yep, we have a final plat for the commissioners to accept. It's for PLN 24-033 holder for phase 5 of the Coyote Run subdivision, creating lots 6, 7, and 8. The property, as you probably all know, is about,
go ahead. I can take this call.
3.5 miles east of Delta on north of E Road. So I think I pulled up the wrong slide deck, but nonetheless, it's somewhat accurate. But phases 1 through 4 were completed under PLN 23-066. That accounted for lots 1 through 5. Then they have where our current development is phase 5, and again, it's just accounting for these 3 lots, 6, 7, and 8. All lots access are accesses from 2055 lane. It's a private road, and taps have been purchased from Tri-County for all 3 lots. Yes, that's sorry, it's not a preliminary plat. Again, I updated this, but it didn't come through. But this is the final plat for phase 5. Is the 3 lots up there around the circle, and then the area, the other parcel to the right of that area. You have that in your agenda packet. based on the information, I mean, there were 14 conditions applied for this subdivision. And back in October, when the preliminary plat was presented to the board. And all 14 conditions have been met. The findings are all in your agenda packet. I don't really have much more to say about that. If you have any questions, answer any questions you have.
Those 14 findings you're talking about, was that for the whole phase, for including the first phase, lots 1 through 6?
Those were conditions for phases 5 through 9.
Okay. They've all been
My
met.
apologies.
You got no further questions or concerns about anything? As far as what you've. what you're
No,
proposing?
they've met all the conditions and once which was the final plat, we will notify GIS and rezone those lots to Res 1 as agreed upon in the conditions. So are there any other questions about the findings and conditions?
I have none.
I'll make a motion that we accept the final plat for phase 5 of the Coyote Run subdivision, creating lot 6, 2.45 acres, lot 7, 2.224 acres, and lot 8, 2.223 acres,
And authorize the chair to sign.
and authorize the chair to sign.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so done.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Mr. Gardner, anything else before the board today?
No, nothing else from planning. We do have plat, but there's a little error in it, so we'll be bringing it down to you.
Very good. Thank you. If there's nothing else from our planning department, we will recess till 10:30 for county attorney. Thank you. Back on record. It's time for County Attorney John Bear. Mr. Bear.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. I have 2 items. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. 2 items for the board's consideration this morning. First is the board's consideration of an airport ground lease for Blakefield Hangar number 1.7.
Do you need to drink water, John?
I'm fine. Pilot Dibs LLC to Swiatek. This is pretty straightforward sale of a hangar assignment from Pilot Dibs to Glenn Swiatek. You have the assignment of lease in front of you there, so I would recommend approval of that.
Any questions for John on this? This is pretty standard.
Well, I move that we approve the assignment of lease Blakefield Hangar number 127, Pilot Dibs to Swiatek.
I will second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so done. Thank you, John.
There, I'll take that, get it recorded and get it over to you. Thank you. The second item I have for the board's consideration this morning is a consideration of the 3rd amendment to option and lease agreement regarding the tower located just right outside the door here at 555 Palmer Street. This is a long-term agreement that we've had with effectively with Verizon Wireless that has equipment on the tower that's just right out here outside the back door. It actually came through Chris Stewart originally, that they reached out to him to go ahead and to kind of extend this. There was some negotiation, nothing too hot and heavy, back and forth about price and term and that sort of thing. So the price is $1,300 a month. And this allows for 2 additional 5-year periods after the initial period. So I've worked with Chris and Robbie on both on this, and I think we're good with the language we're at now. So would recommend approval. Chris, I don't know if you have anything else.
Thank you, Brenda, John. Verizon's on the tower along with our public safety stuff, and it's a benefit to people in Delta that have access to cell service from the tower here. Emergency management manages the towers across the county. They reach out to me, I reach out to John. And I have had no issues with Verizon during leave. Your metro.
And renewal then would be 2030 and 2035.
Correct.
Any other questions for Chris or John on this?
I have none. I will move that we approve the third amendment to the option and lease agreement regarding the tower located at 555 Palmer Street with Verizon Wireless
I second that.
for a term of 5 years. Or we need to add that, or are we good with?
Yeah, down the
It's in there,
language.
okay.
Any other discussion, gentlemen? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So did I. John, anything else for the board today? Where do I sign?
So you'll,
Right here, yeah. Okay.
that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Terry, anything else?
No.
Chris? Seeing nothing before the board, we're going to adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for your time today.
Thank you.